So that was louder than I anticipated. Sì. Ok, ono sta live streaming também. Boa noite, turhende. Danke para te, ta Javiana, nos turta canção. Pero, me também hasil in inglês, door kon ons hasil livestream. Per persona que te, makabe hasil huishoudelijke mededeling. Sinti we free at the end dus in questions. Pero me também começar dus ao in inglês. So, welcome everyone who is also tuning in now live or later. When you can watch it back. We are here today to celebrate the project that is, in my mind, forever ongoing archival horizons of Archivo Emergente. And it's a project that I initiated in that sense because I was thinking about a way of archiving stories that weren't often told or not often told in public spaces. Seeing that I also studied history, I was always interested in that. And then with my platform, Counter Narratives, that I co-founded, and obviously with my team, we made it into a program together with other people. You can actually already go on those two links. It's the same map, but on two different links because the platform that organized it is Counter Narratives, but the project itself is called Archival Horizons. So we have it on our own website, Counter Narratives, and on the URL itself, Archival Horizons. I think, yes, this is also the core team of Counter Narratives. So I'm the only one right now in Aruba, but Nagila, Sergio, and Jair are from Aruba, and Natisha is rooted in Curacao, but from the ABC Islands, and we work on the projects in Counter Narratives in that sense. Let's see. Before I get to this part, I wanted to say, and Ila will, through a video, also share that with you. It is a pretty big project, so some people may have heard more about it through, for example, Storia di Suerte, where Suyin and Ana Maria will talk a bit more as well, because we really wanted to collaborate, and that is more of the artistic part, the part where they went and worked with the communities. And Counter Narratives we built together with Fernanda, who also will be joining us through a video. We built like the technology part of it, and everyone can upload their stories as well, so feel free afterwards if you're like, oh, this sounds familiar and I want to share something, or you have an aunt or a parent or someone you know that can share a story, you can feel free to upload it. And it's anonymous as well. So what we do is that we focus the stories on the barrios, so the regions of the island, and not per se on the person in that sense. We did that mostly because of privacy reasons, but also something that maybe in the future will change. But for now, it's like that. Let's see. I have to click. I hope it works. Wait, how can I make it big? No. Yes.
So I'm going to explain here what we did on the Stimuleringsfonds website because we did receive funding from Stimuleringsfonds. And you can see is for Stimuleringsfonds.nl and it's for the open call Hidden Histories. And this open call was like, it was written for us. It was so funny to be reading through all of this information and notice that um, we have, or the idea that Gion had perfectly fit all of this. And Gion probably mentioned she's had this idea for a few years before we suddenly started receiving a lot of people sending us this open call specifically. The way that Hidden Histories open call worked from Stimulating Funds, for me, it was the first time ever applying for funding, but Gian obviously has so much more experience and she even helps other people apply for funding. Um, but this system is not the same system for every open call of every different funds, but they did it, well, here it used to say the deadline to submit your application, and they do it in two phases. So the first phase is that you write the idea for your project, and when you submit that, and they also compensate you for all of the effort it takes, because even though it's just the first phase, it's still a lot of work, a lot of writing, a lot of communicating with different people. So for the first phase, you submit that, they give you specific questions to answer. And then if you get approved, then you go on to phase two. And that's the big part and also a lot more work. First of all, for the information that you have to submit and then actually creating what you said you would create. Um, so here they already mentioned what's this open call's objective. And like I mentioned, it seemed like it was written specifically for us because it's for local context of Dutch colonial past and post-colonial present. And they also focus on questions that address local communities or places, for example, Aruba, and then we're going to expand to the other islands too. And the diasporic relationship with the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And for us, the most important one was the silenced or other perspectives. And we were questioning the canonical knowledge, like what do people know about the islands? And most of the times they only focus on the Dutch archives. And we wanted to create archives from our stories and our perspectives. And here you can also read who was the open call for. And here it's important to pay attention to what the fund specifically includes. And they say the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which is good because that means that they include everybody in the Kingdom of the Netherlands, because not all funds do that. The Netherlands is very good at colonizing a whole bunch of places, but they're not very good at including us when they provide funding for different cultural or for whatever, not only cultural, but for research, etc. Sometimes they only include the Netherlands in Europe. Sometimes they also include the zogenaamde bijzondere gemeentes Bonaire, Saba, and Statia. And in this case, they included all of the islands. They also focus a lot on different, for example, designers or cultural organizations, architecture, digital culture. So it was quite wide, but the question that was being asked and what we wanted to write about or create about was the similar theme, Hidden Histories. And there are a whole lot of different things that you can read on the website too. Very informative, good to go through. A lot of reading work, but it helps you to form your project proposal, the story you want to tell others. And they also give you tips. So be clear, don't repeat yourself, because otherwise you're reading the same thing over and over again. It seems like a long document with not so much information if you're constantly repeating yourself. Make sure that the proposal fits the theme. In this case, for us, it was super easy. It was as if it was written for us. Involve relevant collaboration partners. In our case, we immediately thought of Plataforma Aruba, so Ana Maria, and she was super, super helpful from the start already. Like when we were explaining the idea, writing the project proposal, she had really good questions. She helped us follow all of these tips. So be clear, don't repeat yourself. Make sure it's understandable for somebody who's hearing about the idea for the first time. And she, like, throughout the entire process, everything that happened on Aruba, Ana Maria took care of. And later you'll also hear from Ana Maria and Suyin about the artistic intervention that took place in Aruba, which was part of the second part of the proposal that we wrote. And the fourth tip, ask for feedback and fine tune your proposal. This is so important because the people who work at Stimuleringsfonds have all of the information. They know what type of project they fund. And we got assigned to Roxana, and she was super great. We could ask her any question at any time, and she would be there to help us. So yes, ask for feedback, fine tune your proposal. The more you are in contact with them, the higher the chance is that your application is actually something that they would consider for funding. And then they also have a short timeline for you. So explore the open call, really read everything that's written, and make sure you're not wasting your time and wasting their time by applying to something that isn't even applicable to your idea. Write your application, submit your application. This is important because you can write it, you can save it in their portal, but if you don't submit it, it'll never go through. And then there's the selection by the committee, and then they'll also tell you why you were or weren't selected for this fund.
Yes. So that was Nagila. She's my colleague that lives in the Netherlands. She's from Aruba. And the reason we made this video, I think, is very important, is to also show the process and transparency of how we got it. So we work most of the time as counter narratives on different projects, but it takes a lot of time to write proposals, to think about ideas, to put it on paper. And I've been doing, like Nagila said, I've been doing it for a few years, but even so, it still takes a lot of time. And it was really great that indeed Ana Maria helped us as well with that, and that we had like an equal partner, I would say, as well, in that, in writing the proposal and really knowing, okay, where do we start and where does the other organization, in this case, Plataforma, begin? And I think as well, what we wanted to emphasize with this video and really about the funding is that we think it's important to not do cultural labor for free. So it's really important to pay people for that. And in the Netherlands, the past 5 years now, they've created this system called fair pay, but it's part of the governance code cultural. It also applies to Aruba, for example, if you apply for cultural funding. And I'm not going to make this a whole funding thing, but I do think it is important because I think different people in here would like to do something or are already doing something and don't know about the possibilities. So Stimuleringsfonds is one of the 6, like, Rijksfondsen, as they call it. So it's governed by Ministerie of Culture from the Netherlands. And yeah, they are split up in different themes, and our theme of digital culture really fit in, in the open call, like Nagila said. So we were very happy, and I know from experience it's rare to get funding in one shot when you apply, but we immediately got it because it was such a specific open call. So other than that, if anyone here, I think, Natusha, do you? Oh, yeah. If anyone here ever needs help with writing funding, just let me know. We can talk because Nagila, since she and I work a lot together, she also helps me out with writing proposals, and we love to help the community on Aruba, for example, to write proposals as well when we have the time and space. Even though we are a bit earlier, I think we can get into, let's see, oh, wait, I have to go back. Yes, I will contextualize a bit about the evening today. Yes, So the idea was not to just make it a celebration and be like, oh, okay, it's online, you can go check it out. But we also really wanted to share and exchange information about what we went through, how it went, why we did it. We kind of already touched upon the why we did it with counter narratives. But we wanted to expand a bit as well. So we wanted to talk to people who are doing similar work or have similar ideas in a different area, maybe, to talk about their work in that. So that is why we also invited different speakers. And today, for the panel, it's just a conversation. It sounds very big, but it's just a conversation that I'm gonna have about important stuff, their work, and how they utilize different forms of research in that as well. And I wanna ask Jess and Mandy to come forward. Maybe you want to clap for them? So just click the microphone when you're sitting so you can speak, because the microphones are off. Let's see. Okay, now. Is it on? Okay. I really don't like introducing people because I think they always introduce themselves better than I can. So maybe Jess or Mandy, I don't know who wants to go first. Before I go into the questions, maybe you would want to introduce yourself. I don't know who wants to go first.
Okay. Hi, boa noite. Thank you for inviting me, us. My name is Jess Wolf. I'm a visual artist, and I'm also the founder of Muchimondi platform. Been working in the world of arts for, I don't know, 20 years maybe, something like that.
Yeah,
something
nice.
like that. Yeah, I'm from Aruba. Studied in Amsterdam and been back recently to
And
Thailand.
working. We'll go more into your work as well. Yes. Mandy, do you want to say an introduction of yourself?
Yes. Sorry, because I'm late. I'm still catching my breath.
That's fine.
So I am a sociologist. I am a labor market researcher. So I work every day with data and statistical analysis and policy development, but my passions are a bit more in what entail sociology, deconstructing social inequalities and finding the root of it. Yeah, I am very political, I guess, if I can say it that way, or a bit controversial. But yeah, I am critical of things, and I like to write and think and figure out ways that I can make things better, and even if it is in an incremental way in my work, because I work in things related to labor and workers' rights, and also a commission for children's rights. So I try to see where can I contribute the best to my ability to my community, even though it seems that sometimes our challenges are a bit
Big.
insurmountable. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, we can get more into that in a bit. So the reason that I asked both of you, not just because I know you personally, but also in the whole process for me in counter narratives and with Archival Horizons, making the map, and especially also working with Suyin and Ana Maria, but we'll get to that part in a bit. It was very clear to us, and with us I mean counter narratives, and for me specifically, that there are so many stories, so many narratives, so many things that we've maybe feel, but we don't talk about in public spaces. Let me be specific. Maybe we talk about it in smaller spaces, and I do believe that sometimes, some things are good private, but other things, if you hear them all around from different people, there is a thread in there. And that's definitely something we saw with the stories that are now online. But seeing that we also wanted to have the conversation today a bit broader, I asked both of you, and one of the questions that I had and have for Jess is, in what way does like storytelling and maybe not only creating narratives but revealing narratives play a part in your artwork, or maybe in Muchimondi as well?
Well, let's see. I think what we're working on right now would be easier to connect that.
You can
So,
contextualize.
yeah, we are recently we have been working on a project that is more connected to our indigenous and Afro-Caribbean heritage and descendants. And because I noticed, like for these couple of years that has passed, that these are maybe something that we don't really celebrate, or we don't really honor.
Yes.
And I remember watching I was reading a post of someone that I know that was asking, like, why don't we as Arubian have a national day or a celebration for our indigenous heritage? And that really like blew up my mind, because I was like, whoa, really? That is something that I never even thought about it. But then that really brought me into the mind of researching, like, and it taught me so much about colonialism and the effects. And so that is when we started talking about it as other artists, how we can start making research, and then start to plan maybe more for the community to get involved. And so yeah, that is for me.
And a way that you do that, has storytelling always been part also of your individual work, or is it more something that you've been doing now in Muchimondi?
I think maybe it might have been, but I didn't realize it before.
Implicitly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want people to know a bit more about your individual work as well. So can you give, because you sent me pictures as well of different things.
Yeah, this is more Muchimondi platform,
Okay.
but I didn't know why.
Yeah. Is there anything in here that resembles more your individual work, or do you weave it into Muchimondi, as well?
I think I do weave it into Muchimondi.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps me also understand on a bigger scale about my work, my personal work. Yeah.
Okay, and going to Mandy, I asked, because I sent the questions beforehand so that all of you can simmer on it and think about it. For us, important in the whole research with counter narratives and the map was really to see, oh, okay, a lot of these stories, like I said, are being told in smaller spaces. People think that they need to be super academic to research, and you and we have a lot of, like, I guess, personal conversations about community work and how can you do that. And seeing that in your introduction yourself, you said that yes, you do a lot of academic research, but you also like to maybe bring it more on a societal or sociological scale. How do you see different form of research maybe that people are already doing? Because a lot of people think, oh, academic research, but do you have examples or other ways that you see in society that people are already, also doing their own form of research in community organizing, for example? How do you see that?
Well, I think one of the more prominent examples I have right now, the most obvious one, is Suyun's project.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful example of reaching out to the community and gathering those stories, the narratives and themes that arise from it. And I think doing research, the word research, you think scientist in a laboratory or something. but it is broader than that, and it is true that in academia they have a very narrow view. It is really, they're trying to broaden it and to be more inclusive, but even I in the social sciences spaces that I thought were much more accepting to different forms of doing research have faced challenges when I wanted to do a project on Aruba and some of the challenges during COVID. And this person that I thought was very open-minded was like, you know, like, why is it necessary? And this was a person that could give me the green light or stop me.
So they said,
And
why is it necessary? Like,
in a not in those words, but it was basically like
a bit
that.
like meh. Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Aruba. You know, that's, and I do believe that there's you can have a bit more autonomy outside of the narrow space of academia. And I also believe in presenting information in a way that is a lot more accessible, you know, in terms of people can understand.
Yeah.
Because if you're gathering all this information and writing it and presenting it in such a way that nobody can relate or even see themselves in it, and they're not interested in reading your work, then it's for a very small elite group. So I believe in being true to myself and being who I am and doing my work that honors that and honors our context. So that's why I believe it's very important for us to do these sorts of projects and working in co-creation with our community, because who better than us to gather this knowledge and create.
It's very interesting you say that, because I myself come from an academic background, but I had horrible experience in academia, and I was like, never again. So I found I found my solace, as they would say in English, in a lot of community organizing, but also artistic forms of doing research, which I think the artistic intervention that Plataforma Aruba, Ana Maria can talk a bit more in a bit. So definitely it resonates what you said, Mandy, in that sense. And I think, that's just been emphasized as well, because even in the video that Nagila showed everyone, that's how the funding process goes. And that's a question I also had for Jess beforehand. Like, in the spaces that you create your art individually or for Muchimondi, in what way is like applying for grants or the process of applying for subsidies, is that something that is, because it can be, right? Is it something that's easy, or that you're like, okay, that's just part of the process? Or how has that evolved maybe for you as well in individual sense, but also with your platform?
It has been very, very difficult.
What was difficult? Like, what was the difficulty for you?
I think the wording of my work, and because you don't only explain it in you don't explain it in Pavimento, you have to translate it, and you also have to write in a different level, in a different way. Like it's a completely different language for me to
literally and figuratively.
And I did have some people kind of trying to guide me or giving me tips and stuff, but honestly, I really couldn't understand it. And then after I came back from my studies, I had a bit of help that was more to ask for funding, but locally. This is so from Inoka. And that was a little bit easier, but still it was challenging because it was the first time and we didn't really understand. But back then there were people that was working there that were really, really helpful with us. So they sat with us, they tried to guide us, and so that did help back then, so that we could do the first event for Muchimondi. And personally, I didn't I didn't even have my solo exhibition
Not
yet.
yet. It's coming.
But I did have an exhibition, a duo exhibition, and it was curated by Anna Maria, and she helped me a lot.
Yes.
So that otherwise I don't think I could have done it. But so yeah, it was very challenging, and now well, my partner is helping me a lot with writing, but also we still need guide, we need help, because if we want to like make a event that is bigger than what we used to do, we do need more different fundings, and for different fundings you also have to write differently. And
Yes, it's
so
like
you have to learn-
strategic more.
Yeah. So yeah, we believe that we really need the help from somebody that has the experience and understand that field better.
Yeah.
So
I think as well that is definitely something that in counter narratives as well we saw. That's why I said after the video of Nagila that anyone in the community, you know, who wants to do something, who wants to write, like we're very open in doing that capacity building type of thing, because like it's also like writing or applying for funding, it has different levels. So that's one thing. You have small funds, you have bigger funds, regional, international, local, like you said. And it's also like, how do you put it in words, something that's maybe more of an experience, since a lot of the focus is text-based most of the time, but not a lot of artists, I'm generalizing a bit, but are not always text, so like text savvy, right? So they create things, they make things, they mold things, and that's something you need to go and translate into text. So yeah, definitely I hear what you say, and I think that struggle in a way is also, maybe this is weird or not weird to say, like on the other side of a lot of the funds that I work with in the Netherlands specifically, they also struggle for different reasons in reaching people to apply specifically from the ABCSSS islands. And I think it's good to talk about these things, because if not, a lot of small groups just keep getting the funding, even if it's with a lot of like hassle maybe, but we should broaden that scope, and that's why we like to have these type of conversations as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for expanding on that. Mandy, going back to the part of your research, or that you are a researcher, you want to expand a bit more about the research you did for your master's, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, so yeah, that was an academic research project, but I love finding ways that, you know, when you have the tools and the support for you to carry out such a project. So I did a study on casual sexual encounters between my participants were women that have casual sexual encounters with men. Why did I choose this subject? It sounds kind of weird or
in the context of
salacious.
Aruba, right?
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
context of Aruba. But I find it interesting for several reasons.
You can
One-
expand.
Like our context, some of the, how do you say, the lasting religious and conservative beliefs. The fact that people many times cannot afford to live on their own, so they don't necessarily have the space in their house to have such
Encounter?
adventures.
Yeah.
And the fact that we do exist in a culture of machismo. So how do these things interact? And it is also the thing that it is not that people are not allowed to have sex, but specifically in the realm of casual sexual encounters are not as permitted, let's say,
Quote, unquote,
compared
yeah.
to people that are in a monogamous relationship. And yeah, the people's own beliefs and how they also internalize and negotiate these things to a certain degree. So it's also available online if you want to read more. But sorry, I'm going into the
No, it's good.
results.
Yeah.
But yes, so people did have these own things of the shame of it, of what they're doing. Also, parents do not talk to their children about sex. Sex is seen as this, either it's for someone that you're in a relationship with, or you will get an STD.
Yeah.
And people don't really talk about it, but those are like the two connotations. It isn't discussed as something for pleasure. It's something very private and taboo, and we don't talk about it, even though it happens so much everywhere in different places because people do not have that privacy at home.
Oh, yeah.
So something kind of taboo that I was very passionate about researching. And when you read it, it's a lot deeper. Obviously, I don't have the space to go in all the nuances, so I'm not really doing it as much justice. But yeah, it's a very different way of doing research. I think you may not see this topic as something, you know, how do you research? When I had the idea, I talked to a friend of mine, and he told me, you know, maybe you should just write a blog about it. You know, why are you going to research this? It's very weird. And also, we live in a very small community, so how am I going to get people to talk to me about these very private things and navigating that interaction? And
Was that something easy or was it hard?
it was hard because,
Yeah.
you know, you're trained as a researcher still from the very, the point of view that you're kind of this distant person. You don't have a connection. You're not supposed to
Objective.
you're not supposed to have any impact on the person or anything. And it's very an extractivist way of thinking that I'm here, I'm going to get all this information and go and make something with it. But I found myself also saying, you know, these people are being vulnerable, and in certain cases sharing my own experiences with them. And some of their experiences, unfortunately, not all were positive experiences, because those are also things that happen, and how do they navigate the risks also.
Yeah, I think that when you told me that you were doing this research, I was like, or that you did it before and we talked about it, I was like, oh, this is such a good topic that is like for, in a different context, for the same reason, in a way, the reason why we wanted to do Archival Horizons. It's how do we get these stories that are maybe random in some people's eyes, but they are these patterns in our societies that keep showing up, or be it historically what we focus on in the map, or be it something more contemporary like what you do in your research. So I would say definitely you go check it out, everyone. Maybe if you send the link to us, we can post it online afterwards on Counter Narratives, and then people can check it. I don't know if you have anything to add or want to say something still. Any of you? Mandy or Jess? Okay. Yeah, it's we have a Q&A at the end so that we can kind of keep the flow going of the conversation. So anyone who is interested in their work can, I think, approach you afterwards and or during, but
I
be
need
a
some
bit
time
quiet.
to think. Maybe
Yeah.
some questions can help prompt more.
See, like maybe we can do one question now if someone has a specific question. If not, we can do that after. Yes, Natasha? Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand?
Yes, yes. It's in the same realm. It's kind of a little bit of the opposite of the coin of machismo, but machismo is so well known, and mayonismo is not. And there's not even a lot of literature about it, or some of the literature I found were in the late 70s or so.
Well, what does it mean?
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting to that. So Marianismo, the name kind of says it, you know, like Virgin Maria. So it is the view that women are supposed to be kind of the saintly, virginal you know, kind of a martyr even, because men are in the realm of machismo, they're able to do all these things, and we are supposed to be this ever self-sacrificing. You don't complain, you don't go after your own desires because you care for the family, and you reserve yourself for a man that goes and causes chaos in the world.
And
But
do you, how do you say that? Do you put them next to each other in the research, or how do you use both terms in
Yes.
your research?
And I use both of them because more from the point of what the participant themselves can also internalize,
Yeah.
because there's also the view of, how do you say, you know, your body is this pure vessel. You know, having casual sexual relationships, you know, pollutes this body, this vessel, this temple. And I'm sure there are a lot of men out there that do not have those, you know, those same little thoughts. And I'm not saying that there is something inherently wrong with it, but it is a bit of a pattern because certain people feel that way and others don't, or not that quick to feel in the same way, that sex is this sacred thing that you're really not supposed to do, or you have to reserve it for very special people. So that's also falls into that concept. And machismo is more about, you are a man, and what makes you a man is this list of things that can sometimes be destructive and can also mean that you're not able to be authentic with yourself, because there are these roles and these characters that you have to play into, or else other men will not see you as a man. And very simple terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Is there another question about to Mandy or Jess?
I saw. Is that the one with Nicole Kidman? Yeah, I saw it. I liked it.
Nice. Jess, do you have anything to add, or maybe ask Mandy, or something you are thinking about?
Yeah, I was thinking about a few years ago when we started getting interested in the topic of indigenous heritage, that we came together as a group of artists that would work then under Muchimondi platform to investigate the topic of our heritage that we don't really know much about, but of course we know a little bit as artists, but still there's a lot that we don't know, and understanding that sometimes also if we go and look for literature like books or history books, a lot of time you also have to be in be cautious, or be in the known that it could be whitewashed, it could be written by.
So the narrative of the books, yeah?
Is not maybe the whole
Story,
story as it
yeah.
should be. And so we try to do the research as different, instead of just by books or by the academic way, to explore more with the land and with the nature and with the flora and fauna, and and also some people with the food and with the people, like the stories. And so I think it's also interesting to see different ways of researching in a more artistic, maybe dialogue, or a way to express. It's not really a question, but it's more like
A sharing.
Yeah, no, like when I was doing that project, despite the list of references that I added and everything, and this framework that I had to follow, I also had the stories that my grandmother told me, or that my great aunt, things that she went through. So one of my great aunts never married because one time a man, I guess, pretended that he was interested in marrying her, and he came to the house and everything, and when he rejected her, it was, or kind of put her aside, the shame that she felt, and in the neighborhood, and it's this big controversy. So those little things, you know, stay. Or this other example that I have of a relative that she was spotted by one of the neighbors talking to a boy after school, and then the neighbor told her mother, and her mother cut all her hair off because she was doing something that she's not supposed to do, and you're bringing shame to the family and blah blah blah.
And is that like the Marianismo type of?
I think it's a very extreme manifestation.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a very uncommon, you know, thing for a mother to be so convinced that, you know, you can't do this, so I'm going to mutilate you.
Yeah.
So boys don't talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think what I really hear in both of the things that both of you are saying is, and that's also something that we saw really in the process of the project, is that it's this constant dynamic, and sometimes, depending on who you ask, a battle of these tools that we have, for example, in academia, but also other types of tools, more in maybe embodied research or artistic research. Like, how do you navigate all of these things in all of these stories to give space to all of these different stories? Like you're saying, you had all of these ideas in your mind during doing academic research. I'm not doing this because it's not academic. I'm doing this because, you know, it's a different context. And then I hear Jess also talking about the different artistic forms of research that you tried to do with the group because you wanted to kind of get away of that more head-based or logic-based type of research and go more into the embodiment of things. And I think definitely when you go on the website of the map, you can see the different type of stories that we got. We got a lot of stories that people tell in the first person. So they tell like, oh, I was this when this happened. I did this when this happened. But throughout those stories, you see a lot of the bigger pictures. Because, for example, one of the stories that we got was about how they had to work when their parents went off to work at Lago, for example, and all the things that they had to do. And in a previous project that we did last year in 2024 with Archivo Aruba, one of the works was with an older gentleman who was like 94, who also talked about the similar types of stories. And then you see kind of these threads of sameness, even though they are not academically researched. And I think it's really cool to hear as well, Mandy, how the academic research was kind of used for something that is actually also this thread and an unspoken thing in our society, and not just Aruba. I think this happens almost everywhere, especially in these post-colonial contexts that we live in, like these the islands, for example, or you know, in the region. What I also really heard was this relationship with like religion almost maybe, or how does religion play in that role of what is shameful or what is not shameful. And I think we can go on about this for a very long time. And it's really interesting. I think we should keep talking about it for sure in another context. But I want to thank you both for sharing your piece, and anyone afterwards who wants to talk can reach out to both of you, because after the program we have a small hangout and you can stay around. You want to say anything, Jess?
Thank you so much for inviting us, and
Of
you're
course.
doing great work here. Like,
Thank
this
you.
is very important. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you can turn off the mic. Sí, just primero. Okay. Let's see. So, oh, I want to introduce Fernanda before I put the video. So Fernanda is a really great person. That's one thing I want to say. I've never met Fernanda in real life, but we have worked together for like a year now or maybe more on the map. And she is the UX UI developer, so she really helped us with, wait, I'm gonna wait till the very loud music passes. She helped us with like the technical aspect of the map. She helped us with like how does it look like when like the public goes on the website. And it's, for us, it's an ongoing process. I think one thing that is important for everyone to know in when they work with us is that we see everything as this ongoing organic process. So we always keep trying to do better when we get input, to have like this conversation with people in that sense as well. It's not that, oh, now it's done, so it's done. And Fernanda has that way of working as well. It's really nice. She's very, she thinks with us and how we can make it most accessible. She couldn't be here today because she lives in Mexico and she's Venezuelan and does a lot of amazing things. And she shared with us a video about what the process was for her in developing the map. So I hope it goes. Let's see.
Venezuela, currently living in Mexico City.
Oh, wait. No.
Hi, my name is Fernanda. I'm from Venezuela, currently living in Mexico City. I'm a web developer and visual artist, and I've been part of Archival Horizons project since last year. The proposal to work on the development of the map came at a time when I was personally seeking to engage more actively in projects that aligned my interests and had meaningful impact on my surroundings. I also feel the need to step away from the corporate bubble and the cycle of creating solely for work. When I spoke with Ila and G about the foundations of the maps and the roots of counter-narratives, my interest was immediate. Seeing myself reflected in words like diaspora, privilege, mental health, and community made it easy to recognize the importance of having space where we can access our own records or history and the legacy of those who came before us. From a technical perspective, being part of a project that highlights the voice behind these stories has been deeply enriching and intimate process of learning and self-recognition. Every stage we've gone through as a team has been nourished by these stories and by the excitement of creating a new space to share them.
Yes. So that was a short but very sweet message. We love working with Fernanda, so please go check out her work. We also tag her in our Instagram posts, so you can definitely find her there. I want to ask the next two people to come forward. Maybe we can turn on a light because now I don't see anything. The lights in the back. So I want to ask Ana Maria and Suyin to come forward. Yes, we have light. You need to turn on the mic. I think.
Testing.
Okay, yours is on.
Hello?
Yes. So, just like before, I do not like to introduce people. So you may introduce yourself. I don't know who wants to introduce themselves first. Suyin?
My name is Oranjestad. I have a background in communications, but also a bit in design, specifically illustration. But actually, after that, I dabbled a lot into other mediums. So yeah, I officially am an illustrator, but gradually I also dabbled into other stuff, and that I can call myself an artist
Yes.
too.
Awesome.
Yes.
Ana?
My turn. My name is Ana Maria Hernandez. I am Colombian, but I was raised here in Aruba. I am an art historian, a cultural manager, and the founder of Plataforma Aruba as well. And I'm delighted to be here tonight.
Yes, I'm very happy both of you are here. So we definitely know each other because we've been working together for the past year, you could say. Plataforma does a lot of different things. Suyin, you indeed do a lot of different things, but today we wanted to focus a bit more on the artistic intervention. And many people don't really know what an artistic intervention is. We kind of talked in the panel before about different forms of research, and it's connected to that, but Anna, maybe you want to expand a bit upon it.
I don't know if it's okay to say that it was a bit of a controversial choice to say that we wanted an artistic intervention and not an artwork or an exhibition. But we did that very deliberately because for us, for Counter Narratives and Plataforma, it was very important to bring this project forward, trying to expand how we understand each other. And I think what Mandy was saying about how research is seen and all of these red tapes that are put in front of simple questions that help us understand each other better. I think that was something that for me was very interesting. I don't know in how much detail I can go into.
Maybe you want to give examples or expand a bit more on what is the intervention for you?
I think if I can talk about how the project started, maybe that helps us illustrate it. So Counter Narratives came forward with a very specific and straightforward question, which was how can we collect these stories? And yes, we could have done a simple interview, which is always, effective. But since I work in the visual arts and my organization Plataforma Aruba strives to change that idea of art being something elitist or just something beautiful on the wall. For me, art is really a vehicle for research and for knowledge and for understanding. For me, art can be everything, right? As long as, of course, it has some ethical and moral background to it. So yes, we could have just asked a person, an artist, to do an art piece, but I was very curious to see how, with that very ambiguous term of artistic intervention, how the creativity of these artists would be sparked, and indeed it was. So we received a few applications because it did go through an open call.
Yep.
We did receive a few applications where, yes, the artists were thinking more literal about drawing these stories, or the interview that we were trying to move away from. And then a lot of people interpreted that artistic intervention as an exhibition, which was very, it was
funny in a way.
Yeah, because then you know that it still goes in the same circle. And to just keep it very brief now, for me, an artistic intervention is just an experience through art and to get from a point A, point B, through the vision and the work of an artist. And I think that's what we did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Yin, maybe you can expand upon what that artistic intervention became. What is the theme? Why did you choose it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't know the terms either. I knew I already was dabbling and had an interest in like being interactive with the community, creating awareness and stuff, but I didn't know what it was. I was just, how you see it, things are full circle, even with Muchimondi. As Jazz were talking about, the event was also something interactive, and then I met you guys through another thing of stimulating funds, and that experience when the judge told me, oh, that's more like social design or stuff like that. Oh, okay. I've never, wow, I have a word for it. And then you guys, this project comes along and it's like, bang, yes, this is just exactly the road I wanted to go to. And so, because I think a lot of us went to study abroad, so when you come back, you have these different eyes on your island, and you see little things of culture that actually suddenly are so beautiful. Even maybe they are so normal, but now you can see them in a different, how they are the illustrations on our island, you know. And how, yeah, should I tell about my concept? Or?
Yeah, so let me contextualize. We indeed, like Ana Maria said, had an open call since we didn't want to just choose someone. We wanted to open that up for people. And Suyin was one of the people that reacted. And before you tell us a bit about it, we have 4 different themes on the map, or actually in the project. And Plataforma and Counter Narratives chose for the everyday life. So actually these ideas, these concepts, these things that are everyday life that we do, that we think about, that we eat, that we maybe sing, that we do things with, and actually the context that Suyin is talking about that are maybe so normalized, but if you go to study and come back, you think about it in a different way. And that's when you reacted, so on the open call. So maybe you want to tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, it's funny because Mandy, you already mentioned your grandmother, and my grandmother was also an inspiration for me because she was like, oh, Sugin, buy the lottery, you need to, and also the, like, how generous she was, like, oh, I would buy you a car and your mom a house, and then I would start also seeing how it starts to be such a conversation of the day. Big lottery this week, everyone's talking about it, work, at home, I hear it all around. And I just was like, what makes someone believe in it? Like, so I was not really a buyer. So I was like, what is the dream behind it? And what is the dream why is it only the lottery that can solve that dream? It's about, of course, it's money, but it was on that level underneath it. What is it actually about? And yeah, that's why my pitch was very, asking these, like a diary entry, like, oh, but why, and this and that, and it was not like a concrete thing. But, and that's why you guys were very open for. There was not like, I know I want to do this, but it was more, I am wondering this, and of my community, and also the culture in the shacks, and that whole thing.
Yeah, I think what for me was very interesting when I read your, the text you sent us, it was like, oh yeah, but why do we do that? So it was an immediate reflection for me. I can only talk for myself. And that was what made it interesting, because I think in the theme of the map, which was everyday life, you could go in so many directions, but this was a topic that is all around us, also architecturally. Like, you made the shack, it's in the back, so people who are live here can go check it out later. Yeah, it's something architecturally, it's something community, because when it's like, oh, 1 million florins, everyone goes after work or before 7:30 to buy, and then you stand in line if you're a buyer and you talk about it together, like with other people maybe you don't know, or you have your shack where you always go and the people there know you, right? So it's, for me, it was very interesting to have this sort of almost community idea that was very abstract, but is always there or has been there since I'm alive, or, you know, like, I've seen it everywhere. So that was what for me was super interesting. Anna, I don't know if you want to share what for you was interesting about it.
Yeah, it was basically that Suyin's proposal was so, not that the other ones were pretentious, it was just so genuine, and it really came from this curiosity, and it wasn't thinking so much about the final result or how it would look. It just really genuinely came from this curiosity, and it opened at least our worlds into this subculture that now, of course, it's so crazy to realize that you see these shacks every day, everywhere, and you know that they're just embedded in your imaginary. But until this project, I realized that it doesn't happen anywhere else. I was in Curacao, I was wondering, does Curacao also have something like this, like a very distinctive, you know, tradition of lottery with this very distinctive...
They have lottery shacks, but it's not the same.
No, and I've noticed, like, lately, most of, or a few of the shacks don't follow these standards of the, yeah. So now I'm also super aware of that, and I'm wondering, okay, like, is there a shift in how they work? Is it,
Are they rebelling?
I don't know exactly. But for me, that was exactly it. That openness to trying to get to a question, not the answers per se, but the question from a very open perspective. And for me, that was like, yes, bingo. This is the type of creative or maker or artist that we can work with in this specific project. And I think you did that very beautifully, and to really help us think about all of these symbols and rituals. Like, that was the thing,
Yes.
you know, like, it was bringing these rituals forward through the act of thinking, how can we create this experience? Like, how can we make use of that feeling somebody has going into the shack and opening up somehow, like, the vulnerability of it in that experience? And then next to that, listening to these stories, it was so crazy to see how life was different, and how at the beginning people are very shy, because when you ask them to share a story, a personal story about themselves, at the beginning they're very like, oh, I don't know if I have something interesting to say. But then they sit, and then I just saw you talk like for 30 minutes on with the same person, and then hearing these recordings was just like, wow, like every interview could be a book, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I was very pleased and happy, and I really enjoyed the whole process of not only working together, but also experiencing the piece and making it an artistic intervention.
I think what was indeed super interesting in the way you presented it to us was that it was a perfect beginning for the intervention, because it was not like too structured. It was the idea, it was actually your questions were a bit already the research, as in, oh, why do we do this? What is the ritual? It was inspired by my grandma. That, you know, all of those little niblets, let's say, they kind of made it easy for me as well to see you expand upon it. And I think that was what was so interesting about the intervention, was that the intervention was not giving us the answers, but it was activating other people to give you, in that sense, the answers, so that we can transcribe them. And that was something that was interesting, because it also created a bond between you and the people you talked with, even though you didn't know them. We have some pictures that you are talking with an elderly person, because the target group for this project specifically was 50 plus. So we talked a lot with like adulto mayor, as they say in Papiamento. We have different target groups, so if you want to submit your own story, you can, as long as it fits into one of the 4 categories. Yeah, I want to thank both of you. I don't know if you want to say something else before we round off the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was still very open, and after that, we really much became a collaboration. So it's our project. I think also like how innocent of a team it is to get to a deeper thing. So
Layer,
it is
yeah.
just the question: what would you do with $1 million? And I think you're going to see in the stories that they actually have nothing to do with the lottery anymore.
About life.
Which also was something that we had to discuss, like, no, we can let go of that. And it really was a very positive and innocent way to get to a deeper thing. And also what the stories go everywhere. And like you said, the details really show something of the society. If like, from our infrastructure to, like what we were talking about, having to be this good girl, dating in the dating. Back then if you were that, you were already called the P word, as we say in Papiamento. And now at an older age, you have to approach the man, or like stuff. Like it was so fun, but also things of still working in the Kunuku, but the change towards being right in that.
Industrialization, yeah.
So yeah, it was the perfect vehicle, the topic to get into a more, and they were all very, like you said, very willing to go there and talk, and it's nice to be able to just share connections with people.
Thank you. Anna, do you want to add anything?
I want to add two things. There was also information about a gang fight in one of them, which was hilarious. The one with, what's it, Santa Cruz against Playa?
So the Santa Cruz guys, the Playa guys go to the parties in Santa Cruz, and all the girls, I guess, wanted the Playa guys, and then the Santa Cruz guys become like angry, and then fights. But what I like about this story, because we did have a session at the library where we also had some people coming, over there. And just to keep it interactive, I was like, okay, pick a number. Okay, in that number, you get
like
that
a
story.
like a
Lottery of the stories. And then I think it was my brother who got the gang, or someone got the gang fight one. And it was very interesting how this younger, our younger generations were relating, like, oh, but that's still like that. Like some stuff is still like, but also other stuff very much appreciative. Like a guy was really appreciative of like, wow, because there was a story of a girl who had to wait for like a month for the doctor of Curaçao to come here for her rotten
broken arm.
Arm, and then he was like, wow, I'm happy. So it's a very combination of appreciation of the history, but also like, oh, that's very relatable, still relatable,
And the other thing I wanted to say was that reflection you just said about collaboration, that it's I think every artist works as a collaborator, and any artist that says otherwise is lying to themselves. So it's really very much standard. So it's really, your work. And then also I wanted to thank Carla Garcia, who was our designer for this project, who was also a very kick-ass brainstorming sessions and thinking how we can work with the visual language of the lottery brand.
On the cookies, we have them.
Yeah. So that was really also really nice, like the collaborations of thinking how all of our experiences can bring something to facilitate Suyin's question and search and the result of it.
I think like again with the going to the levels, like for it still to be so recognizable, but it's like just the tip of different colors and everything, like with the visuals that Carla did. So that's cool too.
I think because we can, the Bostore di Suerte was in a sense another project upon itself as well. So if you're interested in hearing more about it, you can definitely talk to Anna and Suyin afterwards about it as well. We reference it on the website, obviously. So we are super grateful that we got the stories through the artistic intervention. It's a very good method for everyone, I would say, because it really helps all of the parties that are involved to think in a broader way about what is this story? Why does that happen? Oh, I never thought about it. So thank you, thank you for that. And I want to thank everyone who came through today, who is here on a Friday night. I know we're all tired. It's been a long week. But thank you for being here. And before we round off, I want to ask the Grani Matis people to tell a bit about the drinks that they sponsored today. Do you want to say something? So thank you, Anna and Suyin. Bom, sim. Senhora quer contar algo de...
Boa noite, Turhende. Sim. Tiki, já conoscermos heritage. Anto, nós está de Grani Matis Drinks. Nós está entrepreneur mais young de vosotros. Grani Matis Drinks, sim. Nós a começar durante o tempo de pandemia. E te quer onde nós tour mira não só para fora, pero para dentro. E nós a discover força interno disciplina, perseverancia, imaginación. Y en cos cubo mester para comenzar un negocio. Heritage también de mi mamá, esta se llama Matilde, who we used to call Mati. That's why the name of Granny Mati's Drinks, bebida de abuelita Mati. El alanta en montaña de Colombia, onda fermentación tamane en modo de preservar e comida e tota hopi healthy. Anto tal lo cual no se llama guarapa, aquí, pero amalanta tiki que cultura de ese. Anto mite quiere que ese ya surge durante pandemia, dice why not no está sigue el legacy que la 13 la laga panos. Anto no sabían discover un bebida, no discover pues bebida tahopi antique, pero così por 13 salud, por 13 awareness de salud para una comunidad, no es algo comercial, pero nos ha descubrí que realmente si votas hacia un bebida, cualquier emprendimiento, amor, ese está reflejado en el producto. Entonces, poco a poco, está algo que no está fácil, nos ha comenzado, avísanos, para comenzar a que reward DJ, botinco guarda 5 años y botinco trabaja duro, ¿verdad? Nos estaba yendo para 3 años por aquí, na juni, para 4 años, sorry, nos ha comenzado medio de pandemia, y poco a poco nos ha en verdad, hay gente que comienza a conocer otro, y no solamente nos está 13 conocimiento de qué que está, pero también está nuestro beneficio en la bebida. Y ese para nos seguro un día reward más bonita conocen.
Sí, danke. A mí me está un fan hopi grande de kombucha. Dus hasta prometo evento a que me tauta bebe grande matis kaba. Anto para nos na counter narratives de nos tema nang tapa focus riba economia nang mas local.
Más local.
Anto assim na mi colega na gila também nos no puntra gente of organização comerciante na Aruba que tá hasicos local para waxi por colaborar. Anto nos amando email antes de viajar.
No, para nós queremos, sí, es un honor para nós. Queremos, para nós es un honor. Que vos tengan en cuenta se manemita visa nos mira para dentro, nos fuerza interno, nos por producir algo bonita, auténtico, raw, artesanal, honesto. Nos está percurado para proceso honesto. Y ese botawak el feedback bota haya vigente durante por vele está full otro. No está un mercado fácil con mucha tin y también un urban myth que está smack majos. Está paso tin viaja nanta pone mucho cosas para preservar en el shelf life. Nos shelf life está 8 semanas. En un botawak acaba con un producto que no está pasteurizado, con un producto natural.
Fresco.
Nos tiene affordable prices, pues kombucha también un elite.
Sí.
Kombucha tal no, nos quiere llegar a la comunidad con affordable prices para tu gente tin. Y ahora botawak es reflejado de una u otra manera más que parte económico cual tan importante para su bota trabaja con hopi energía, con hopi esfuerzo, pero a mí me está trabajador del sector salud. Anto para mí que gente que dice, vos él ayúdame que saque, no es un remedio, pero vota que beneficia a nadie.
Sí.
Está hopi rewarding.
Sí.
Está hopi rewarding.
Eta danke, mi lo visa tur gente, vos puede try it out, nos haya really nice sponsorship y danke pa compartir historia también. So everyone watching at home from the comfort of your couch, thank you tur gente que nang también danke y queda around. Pasa una noche, get around, nos tienen snacks y coi bebe y kombucha también
Kombucha de Granny Mati's Drinks.
Sí, danke.